Good day to you peeps. Liesl here again, and today I thought I would come to you to answer more of our community questions, or Q&As if you prefer, your questions answered. So yeah, straight in. I think the second most popular question to date was, Liesl, do you use truss rods in the build of your instruments? And that's a really good question. So I'm going to answer that and explain one or two other things as well. So basically, do I use truss rods? The answer is no. I've never actually fitted a truss rod to any of my instruments. I have thought about it, particularly when I was planning bass instruments that have a very long neck and what have you. Now there's one or two little surprises in store, so I won't talk too long about bass instruments today, but I looked into fitting a truss rod, and it seemed pretty complicated to me. So having answered that also briefly, really, it does lead me on to the next part, which is, although I don't use truss rods, and you know, if you're clever with that sort of thing, there's no reason why you shouldn't. There is an alternative, and there's an alternative way of building basically a cigar box guitar neck without needing a truss rod. And yes, many sort of warped out and broken necks later, I have basically come to the conclusion that there's one or two ways of doing it. Now, I guess the best way to explain would be to try and explain the difference between the neck on, you know, a standard guitar, say an electric guitar or a factory built guitar, a solid body guitar even, and a cigar box guitar. So not wanting to bore you, I'll try and explain. Now, as you can see, if say this was an ordinary guitar, as we know, especially with solid bodies, they tend to bolt in on the back, and there's a plate with 4 kind of screws in there, and then that's it. That's where the neck ends. Obviously, on a cigar box guitar, as you've now seen, and as you well know, if you're building these things, the neck goes all the way through the body generally. There might be a gap to fit pickups or whatever, or a slight staggered neck, but they do run all the way through. As far as I know, the main reasons, should I say, for having a truss rod are A, obviously it strengthens the neck and saves any problems with potential breakage or warpage, as I would call it. And I think the other reason basically why they're fitted is so you can adjust the neck to adjust the action. Now, yeah, setting the action on a cigar box guitar, I'm sure, is very different. What tends to happen is, if you fit a straight neck, I think more of a problem is the action on the guitar. Like, you may be playing away and you'll get to a certain point and it'll start sounding thin, and that's basically where I think there's a bit too much tension at that point in the strings. I'm no expert, so you'd be best off to ask a real guitarista, you know, who understands these things if you wanted to know about fitting them. And obviously there are many wonderful videos on YouTube that will show you how to do that. The other reason I don't use them really is because I don't have the kind of tools that you'd need to like create the hole to insert the truss rod. I mean, obviously you could build the neck up around it, and I've seen people do that, and I think, yeah, that's probably quite a good idea. If you don't know what I mean, if you look at this end here, basically on a standard guitar, somewhere around here you'll see a hole and a little Allen bolt, and that's basically where it fits into the neck. It goes all the way down basically to the base of the guitar neck there. So the problem of the thin sound, there is a way around it, and many guitar builders use this method. I did use this method actually on this guitar, and that is to create what's known as a back angle. And I'll try and explain, okay, with this piece of wood here. So basically, say this is your guitar neck, and say it joins the body about there, and then this runs through to the back of the box. If you basically cut a very shallow angle that way, so it starts more or less at the bottom, I would say, working up to maybe 1/8 of an inch, so it's very, very shallow. Then when it fits in the bottom of the box or on the supports, obviously it will push the neck ever so slightly that away. It's ever so slight, you can't really see it as you're playing, or you don't really notice it when you're going up and down on the neck of the guitar, but like what it does do is creates a little bit of relief in the strings here, and I tend to find they go thin sort of either up here or somewhere down here, right? If they're going to, you know, and then you can get problems with the strings slapping on the box. I will obviously do another video pretty soon. Says Liesl, gritting her teeth, because the only way really to achieve that with hand tools is to do basically a very elongated scarf joint. Now scarf joints are wonderful. It's what you use to make a headstock, tilt and all that sort of thing. The only thing is I loathe doing them half the time because you've got to be deadly accurate. I will show you how to do it, but you've got to make sure you get a very even cut in there, because otherwise it'll be uneven and your neck will twist and tilt like that or like that, or it won't sit very flat and you get a horrible action. So that's basically why you need to be quite precise. All that said, you don't have to do them. No, I mean, we're all familiar with Dave. He doesn't have a back angle. What he does have, and again it's so slight you can't really see it, is ever such a small kink in his neck. And I do remember jokingly saying that, you know, it's made out of plywood and if it doesn't snap it'll be a miracle. Well, it hasn't snapped, and I can feel when I'm playing it has actually got a very slight kind of banana shape, but it's so imperceptible, you know, it's so small. And I did notice actually that as he kind of bent up a bit, actually started sounding a lot nicer. Needs tuning, not played him in a while. So yeah, that's basically it. Now, I have found ways of stopping the neck from bending. You'll probably notice actually on any cigar box guitar, I noticed it when I picked up factory built guitars the opposite way, is that to a lot of people it might seem like they have quite a thick chunky neck even though it's narrow, and yeah, they do basically, because the thicker the wood the less likely it is to bend. And the other way of doing it, and what I would add, which again I've discovered down the years, is to use hardwood for the fingerboard. So if you use a nice solid bit of hardwood, like a piece of oak, I know that's quite expensive and you wouldn't want to just rush out and buy it because it is expensive these days. But if you've got any sort of hardwood, any kind of hardwood, and you make quite a nice thick fingerboard, I find that they don't tend to bend. You know, that's strong enough to sort of keep it nice and straight. A lot of people don't like softwood necks, but I use Scandinavian spruce and all kinds of pine, and I find them lovely. They're really easy to work as well, not as hard to file as a piece of hardwood. If you've got all hardwood though, even better, because you'll have a solid neck. And the heavier the neck, I do believe, the more kind of reverb you'll get. So, you know, it does actually go a certain way to creating the sound or improving the sound. And I never knew that really. You know, that's just something that I discovered sort of quite recently really. So yeah, basically that's it. You know, if I could just show you one more thing. Sorry, I've got to pop off camera just for a moment, okay? I wanted to show you tone. This is tone. If you're wondering why it's called tone, It's because I didn't have a volume switch, so he ended up with a tone, and it kind of became his nickname. Now this is what I call a real cigar box guitar. I actually built this one just to take away with me when I was going to see friends and family, and I wanted something to take, and I wanted something acoustic. Now this was actually a diddley bow previously, and it was that way because it had a resonator in there, which I didn't like, so I took it out, and this neck was on a different guitar, and the diddley bow neck just wasn't really working, so I decided to dismantle the two instruments, threw them together to make one. And as you can see the spring inside his box there. He's just got a piece of wood that goes straight through to the end, and he doesn't have a back angle, nope, and he doesn't even have a fingerboard. And you can see that's scrap wood, you know, that's the sort of wood that's come with somebody's stove or fridge or something. I found it disingenuously thrown out in the parking lot, but I thought, oh, that'll do me. And like I say, I threw them together. It's completely flat, no back angle. He's having new pegs fitted at the moment, as you can see. But I will give you a go on him once he's strung, because I tell you, this is one of the best guitars I've ever built for sound. It sounds absolutely incredible. All he's got is this plank here and this spring. This sort of piece of wood acts as a bit of a resonator as well. And I just filed his sound hole out a little bit larger. And that nice large sound hole actually does create a really lovely sound. So yeah, you know, truss rods, I don't use them. I think for these kind of instruments you don't really need them. You know, if you are clever and you know you've got the tools and equipment, absolutely fit them. You might come up with something really amazing, you know, like this really long neck or something. I don't know. If you do, let me know, because I'd definitely be interested in knowing that. But no, very rarely do I use them. I will do a video on how to do this with hand tools. Like I say, it might not be soon because it's one of the jobs I really don't like doing, but I do think, you know, it's worth demonstrating. And we'll see if Liesl is actually up to the job, shall we? We'll see if Liesl can actually achieve this. That would be interesting too. So, yeah, there we go. Question number 2. Do I use truss rods? As you know, I'm having 2 or 3 days off of guitar planning, building, anything like that at the moment. So I thought this is a good opportunity to come on camera and answer some of the Q&As. Have got a few things in the pipeline, 1 or 2 interesting things, 1 or 2 amusing things, I hope. So do stay tuned, and if you haven't done so already, you know, please do subscribe. You know me, always losing my words. Please do subscribe, click the like. As ever, if there's anything you want to see built or anything you want to suggest, just stick it in the comments. A massive thank you again to all of you, my wonderful subscribers. I prefer to say our wonderful community. So, yeah, thanks to us all, our wonderful community. Anyone watching, you're still part of our wonderful community. So thank you as well. Hope it's interesting. I'm starting to waffle on now like I always do when I get nervous. So I think for today, peeps, I'll leave it there. So thanks again, and always, as always, stay blessed and keep building. Bye for now. Bye.